So hello and welcome. We're live.
And here we are in Mount Shasta, and our friend David, way over on the other side in Tampa, Florida.
Hello, everyone.
And I know many of you actually watched the session that we did with David a few months ago, where he was introducing all these amazing energetic devices that he's created. And there was a lot of interest in a lot of people actually purchased them. If you did and would like to share your experience with them, that would be great. But what we want to do today is have David talk just a little bit about it, the different items that you created and what they do, because they're fascinating. And we have one of each at our home.
And what I find so amazing about what David's created, especially with the quantum generators, but also what I've seen from visiting you in Tampa Bay, Florida. You're a trained physicist at Oxford and Cambridge.
Yes.
And the way that you work with the technology you're bringing through is so guided by spirit. It's like 90% spirit, and then like 10% of just like the skills that you have already. It seems like to me. And so it's like, I'm sure it's more than that, but honestly, like what really fascinates me the most. And so today on this stream, we want to invite the Stargate community and anyone watching, if you have questions as we go, or if you already have questions, please type them in the chat box.
And we'll pick out some of them for David to answer.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, I definitely welcome any questions, because I know we've had a lot of questions from people already. And lots of them to do with the generators, some of them to do with the IC side of things. And I think I should start actually by maybe about 3-4 weeks ago, we were asking our team, of which, you know, the Elohim is the major component. And we were asking them about some of the differences between the IC Infinity, which is the home systems, the water, food, charge systems, those kind of things, and the quantum generators. And they were very specific that they were saying that, because, I mean, Jules and Prageet have been here, they've seen how we do this. And so the IC systems, the Infinity systems, and the generators are made in a very similar way. Now, they were very particular, the Elohim and my team, saying that they're not different sets of systems. In fact, they're very similar and the same. They just have a very different function. So the IC systems I want to talk about here, and a little bit later on more about the generators, because I know a lot of people want to know about the generators too, is that the IC Infinity systems, they use the quantum field as well, like the generators. But they lens it in a particular way. So they apply it through a kind of, one way to think about it, if you think of a cinema system, you're in the cinema and a pure light comes through the projector system and it goes through the film and it gets filtered and lensed in a particular way. So that's kind of a way of applying light and making an image out of it. So in a similar way, the IC Infinity systems use the quantum field and they lens it in a particular way to perform a certain function. So that's a really kind of nice, easy way of understanding the application effect of the quantum field. So the IC systems, there's 5 of them, and I'll show you this one first. This is the home system. So you can see that here. It's quite light. I mean, I can't really sort of tell you how light, but it is very light. This system is designed to be placed near a electrical cable, so near a device that's always on, like a mains-driven alarm clock, preferably a salt lamp. If you have it, we find the best effects are through salt lamps because they have quite a high amount of current going through and it's always on. And what that does is the template in the device is designed to allow the field effect to grow throughout your house. And then essentially develop a field around your house that performs 3 functions, 3 principles. Now, principle 1 is to do with the repurposing of degenerative codes, because in everything, whether it's electromagnetic waves, whether it's matter itself, is there's a plethora of different types of codes in them. Now, in nature, you find generative codes. So when you go out in nature for a walk or in the sunshine, you are enriched with a ton of life-giving, life-generative, very spiritually advancing codes. And then when you go through more technological sort of environments, and, if you're an office block or, if you're near a computer, those kind of things, because they're artificial in nature, they give off the more degenerative codings, which are, do the opposite of life-generating codes. So purpose one is principle one in the system is designed to rewrite, a little bit like going into the innards of these things and rewriting the codes and literally transforming them into generative codes and not generative. So the idea is to have an entire environment in your home, your office space, or wherever you use it. So the environment is now purely enriched with generative codes and no degenerative codings.
I've got a comment about that,
Yeah,
David, because we had one for quite a while now, and
but we didn't realize we.
Hang on,
let me let you
And so, for a while, we didn't have it because I got a salt lamp, and I put it next to the salt lamp, and instantly I could feel that field reconnecting again. It was really very tangible and very exciting, because in our home we have so many different energy devices. We're full of stargates and things like that, and so usually when somebody shows us some kind of energy device and says, check this out, we don't know what the difference is, because we've got so many things there. But it's like, as soon as we put that salt lamp on and the home device, there's an instant sensation.
Oh yeah, it's palpable. I was just, and the salt lamp Prageet got is really pretty too.
Yeah.
But what Prageet mentioned is that the reason it needs to be by an electrical current that's always on is because it actually alters all of the outlets in your house. So the flow of the electricity, and it's I can feel that.
Yeah.
It's really tangible. It feels like before it was a little bit more staticky, and now it's all smooth and kind of elevating, uplifting, calming.
Yeah. And I know somebody's asked before, but people are very concerned with the 5G and 4G and all those things. So can you say something about that and the home device? Does it have an effect on that or not?
Yes, definitely. In fact, there's a lot of things, I can feel my team doing that. There's a lot of things I'd like to share with you, which perhaps not over this platform. I'll see if they can come up with an idea of how I can get this information to you, but I will talk about that. So recently we did, a friend of mine in the UK knows the Iconic group, and he's friends with the son. And they recently had one of those emitters installed right outside their office building, and they were all completely, had all sorts of awful symptoms show up.
This was a 5G?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was, yes. And so he said, what have you got? We need something fast, because, they're in trouble there. So he said, well, I have this. Do you want to try and see if it works? And so they had it for a couple of weeks to have, to see, a nice before and after. And we've got the video, the documentary they made of that, posted up on a website now under media and information, which you can see, but I'll give you an overview now. So basically all of them, they said their just symptoms went, they all just vanished. Now, the good thing about these devices, and that I like to add on to that, is that they are dynamic. It's a living field, so it doesn't matter what type of technology it is. It will reach in to all of them, because it can access all of those different forms. So it's not like a technology where, if you get it and they introduce another thing, you think, oh, damn, I've got to buy another one, because it's not like that at all. The range of these devices is just so wide and powerful. And also, because of the nature of the devices, if an update does come through, the entire fleet gets it. So if you've got one, you don't need to upgrade it ever again. It's good for life. That's an important thing. So it's, you know, you'll get coverage of everything. So you don't need to worry about whether it's 5G or 4G or whatever G comes out. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. I had a question come in then, and it just went out the other ear. So
That's right. It got instantly recoded and you forgot about it.
Dina is responding to your story, and she's asking what kind of symptoms do they have from 5G?
Well, they reported, oh yeah, I can see it on here. That's cool. They reported headaches, nosebleeds, flu-like symptoms. Just, you know, they were off. A lot of people were off, you know, many days, and they'd come back in for a day and then they'd go off again. And in fact, they go into, if you go to our, which we just updated this morning, if you go to our website, which I'm guessing we'll put the link up later, if it's not already there, you can go direct and watch the whole, about half an hour. So they go into detail and they interview me, but they talk about all those things. So if you want to see that in detail, you can watch that there if you want to.
And there's another simple question here from Snow White. She's concerned about all the dwarfs. So she's asking, what is the range or the diameter of these devices?
And is it big enough to cover a whole house?
Yeah, that's a good question. So basically, and the last one was as well. So with these devices, what we found is they will encompass a small house, an estate. It doesn't matter. It will grow and develop right throughout your electrical systems. The only provisor that we say is that if you have a house, like a big house with two different distinct electrical mains boxes, you know, you have a circuit breaker box over here and you have a separate one over here. So for example, if you turned off the mains to one breaker box, half your house goes out, but the other half stays on. If you've got that kind of situation, you probably need two, so that to make sure that the energy can couple so the electrical flows throughout all of your house, because they have two distinct systems. Does that make sense? So in other words, you know, if your house has a main system box for part of it, and your other part of your house has another main systems box, the field of the IC Infinity needs to see the electrical flow of energy that goes throughout your entire house. So you need to have one that can see all the electrical systems on one mains breaker box, and one that can see all of the other one on the other mains breaker box. I've never seen a house that has that, but if you have a super stupidly big house, like an estate, and you're mega rich, you might have, because, you know, they sometimes require that kind of system. But that's the only caveat. Now, the other thing I would say is when we were in New Zealand, we did a test when we had the prototype, and we drove away and we wanted to see how big, because there's two fields. There's the primary field, which is the one that couples to the electrical systems, and there's a very large secondary field, which is big. And we were measuring it 2 miles away from where we were, so it's big. And we haven't tested it since, so it might have even grown a bit bigger since then. So there's a field that doesn't care whether it's near its electrical systems or not, which is the secondary field. But the primary field does, and that needs to be near electrical systems in order to develop its field around the house.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers the question.
Well, here's a question from Renata, and she's saying we already have the codes and templates within us. That's her opinion. And she's saying, I'm open for the possibility that the technology is awakening those templates and codes inside us. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Yes, well, in truth, because you are a living being with full access to the quantum field, it's true that you can access anything that you wish to access. The difficulty often is because of the filters and the other energetics that through past life trauma and other things like that, it's often difficult, or sometimes filtered or fettered for people to individual access if they're not used to working in that way. And the other aspect of this is, I should probably mention, which kind of relates to this question as well, the third principle of this device. Well, let me just cover the second principle as well, just because I didn't get to finish that. Second principle is to do with imbuing the codes into your environment to allow a deeper connection with the earth grids. Because even if you're in a high-rise building or if you're deep in nature, the idea is to assist you to help to grow and connect deeper and deeper passively. So you don't even need to consciously be doing it. Okay. And so the third principle is to do with evolution. It's to do with development of you, exactly the way your higher self and inner aspect works. These devices do not in any way, and the quantum field does not in any way impinge upon your free will. That's an absolute no-no. So the way they work with people is very individual. Even in the field, if you've got a family, it'll work with each individual in a very unique way, specific to the requirements and needs of the individual higher self. So, for example, there may be certain codes and templates that you may need, but you're not aware of them yet. And so, for example, what will happen is I've found that by being in the field, it just kind of makes you aware that there's stuff there that you might want to have. It just gives a little bit more of a, to people who are spiritually aware, it gives you more access and faster access in a way that I've found. I've been working on myself spiritually for over 20 years now, and I've done a huge amount of clearing and healing and you name it, that just everything that I can think of. And I had to do this work, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to access this. And I found that being in this field, I do have such a, and also with the generator here as well, which I'll talk about in a minute, I do have just a heightened sensitivity and perception to extra stuff that when I'm out and about and away from the field, I can just notice that it's a little bit less. It's almost like you're in a connectivity field, if you like, where you just get slightly more inspiration, slightly more options, and it just comes to you quicker and more clearer. So I hope that kind of answers your question.
I mean, I've got something to add to that, really, because the main focus that Alcazar has is about us releasing all the limitations that we carry from this and previous lifetimes, and those limitations shut down our sensitivity. Yes. And it might be correct that we have all those codes available, but because of the nature of where we're at right now, we're not accessing them. And coming into that field, you can feel that energetic support. I mean, that's the amazing thing. It's like all these, like the Stargate, all these different devices which Spirit is giving to us, they all work in similar yet different ways. Yes. It's like somebody wrote into us once and said, well, I've got a Stargate. I don't need anything else. Yes, that's true. And the more support you get in all these different areas, the more whole you can start to feel, and the easier it is to access those places that we want to go. And with that extra support, it brings to the surface all those limitations to let go of. So the Stargate and the IC stuff work together.
I do find that there's an interesting similarity in that. Okay, so Stargate is bringing through a high vibrational energy field. If you tried to measure that with like an EMF device or even electricity, you wouldn't necessarily measure anything.
Yes.
Okay, like we used a device called the Sputnik, which works with the BioWell, which is kind of like Kirlian photography type technology developed in Russia. And when we took the Stargate to the 12th, the energy that it measured in the room actually went down, which is really interesting because it's like, what's happening there? Like perhaps all of us in the room are being drawn into higher dimensional realities.
Yeah.
Right? So what I see, because David, when we were visiting you, you were mentioning that you had requested information from your guides, okay, tell me about the electromagnetism of this, and they're like, no, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So it's like we're working with higher principles of what energy even is, is my feeling. I'm wondering if you can say anything about that.
Yes, and that's a very good question. And we've just made a video, a documentary about 50 minutes, which has just gone live on our website, which we do a very cool CGI version of the breakdown of the layers of reality, and to make it very clear exactly what Jules and Prageet were just talking about. You see, there are many field layers. Now, what we perceive right now, because it's overlaid, it looks like it's just one layer. It's not. It's many, 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 many stacked over each other, which have crossovers. And certain aspects and attributes of that you can measure with physical instruments like an EMF meter, like Julianne just said. Now, what an EMF meter measures is simply it has an aerial or an antenna. As a wave comes in, it hits the electronic charge in the conducting wire, and it just moves it up and down. And all the meter does is measures, how frequent that's doing. It gives you the frequency and how much it's doing, the amplitude. That's all it will tell you. It doesn't tell you anything else. So if you imagine an ocean wave with a softball on it that's just bobbing up and down, and then you can suddenly black out the ocean and you see this glowing ball just going up and down. And the instrument goes, oh, look, I see a ball. It's just going up and down. And yeah, it's got frequency, it's got amplitude. That's the information I'm going to give you. But it sees nothing about the richness and the depth of all the organisms, all the things that are living in the wave that come through that make the ball do that motion, you see? So it's a limited view when you talk, particularly when talking about instrumentation, about, oh, look, with these devices, you'll still measure the physical carrier wave, because that's not carrying the codes. You know what I mean is, it's not the thing that's doing the damage. It carries the codes. It's not doing the damage. Yeah. So when you measure that with an EMF meter, it's measuring the physical wave. It does not measure, it does not see, it does not interact with the coding. Okay, so it will tell you nothing about that at all. But when the wave is cleaned and the coding is repurposed, you'll still measure the wave. The instrument will still be giving you the same readings, but it has generative coding now, not degenerative, and that's a big difference. And to come back to what Julianne was just saying as well, because as a human being, you have resonance all the way through back to source. Even if you're not aware of many of those higher aspects, like Prageet was saying, there are many different blocks that we have to get to become aware, consciously aware of that connectivity that we have. You have resonance in all of those ranges. And now pathogenic coding or those kind of things can exist in levels higher than the physical. So dualistic aspects still exist, beyond the third dimension to a degree. And so it's important to make sure that you get all those aspects. And that's one of the things that the Infinity stuff does. It goes into those levels because it has access to the quantum field. It can go into all those levels and do all that stuff. Whereas, instead of just working on the physical and just thinking it's a purely physical problem, as long as you take care of it on the physical, it's all good. It's not. You have to take care of all levels. And the other thing I find is that the calmness of the field that gets developed, and like Prageet was saying, with the Stargate technology, with this technology, it's very similar in a way. And with the Infinity stuff, because it has because of the way that it accesses the quantum field itself and generates a quantum emission or a quantum field, and then lenses that with the particular principles I just mentioned, none of that you can measure, but you can feel the sensation, you can feel the changes, and you can totally tell the energetic difference in the environment, like Prageet and Jules have found. So
yes. That's brilliant. I mean, I'm really excited to know that, and it's going to be really cool. I mean, Cryon channels, Lee Carroll channels Cryon, and he talks about sometimes that like someday we'll have a device that can actually measure multidimensional energy.
Yes. Yes.
And that's, I mean, like what you're talking about is just a level that's more advanced than our current technology can measure. So what you're bringing through is just brilliant. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And Leslie is saying she feels like her home device keeps getting upgraded.
Yes. Hi, Leslie. It does. We've found that too. And they even evolve by themselves, and the interesting thing is, as humanity's consciousness raises, humanity is ready for more, they upgrade themselves, they develop, and they do interact. They're very aware, because there's so much going on that, and this could be many talks by itself just to describe field nature, the spiritual energetic physics behind it. But of course, we don't have time for that, so I'll have to kind of nutshell everything. But with the field itself, you can interact with it and you can make requests of it, just like you can do with the Stargate as well. So like if you're meditating with a Stargate or you're meditating with these devices, and I'd actually recommend if you have a Stargate, meditate with this in the Stargate as well. Get both of them, get both the best of both worlds. And what I've found as well is, because I have this little puppy behind me sitting next to my bedside, and so it always stays in the Stargate. It's obviously the generator, which is designed to work specifically with the Stargate. And with this and with the IC Infinity devices, you can make specific requests. And I'll give you an example. So when we made the food device, we had it on the table. We were just passing it around plate to plate. And I heard a voice say, "You do know I can do all plates at once." Okay, right. So I said, "All right." So
I put mine in our fridge.
Oh, you did? Okay. Cool. I just got this weird picture of this little device going. I'm scared.
Yeah, is it cold? Should we bring it out to the table?
Yeah.
So it said just put me in the middle and give me permission to operate on all plates, all food on the table. And we did that. And I could see with my inner vision, this beam just went all over the place, every plate, every glass, everything that was on the table. And it was doing exactly the same thing to all plates simultaneously. We don't put that on the website because there's not something that many people are usually open to, but this group certainly is. I have no doubt of that. So you can interact with them and, you can make requests as well. But be aware, of course, because of the nature of quantum field, it will never allow you to make requests that obviously violate free will, that violate your higher self's wishes. So there's certain things that you can't do. You can't. So can't you just knock that thing over there or something, or do something weird? It won't do it.
It's the same as Stargate. It's got its own consciousness with the Stargate, and so it's not going to do anything.
Exactly. That's a good way of putting it. Yes, it does have its own consciousness like that.
Definitely. Quick question here from Fran. What if you live in an apartment?
It's no problem. The device is a living quantum field. It's an intelligent field, so it will literally morph itself around your apartment space. As long as you have it near the electrics, or preferably a salt lamp is the best solution. Leave it near there. It will just morph around. And to give you an example, can I say this? Yeah, they want me to say this. Okay. So one of the upgrades that happened maybe about 8 months ago was that the field started to expand beyond the house. But our next door neighbors, they've left now. They, nice people, but don't get me wrong, their energetic level was very, very low. And what we noticed, we were shown an image, the field went around their house. It wouldn't go in. Because when we asked the guys afterwards, they said their higher selves have requested that it doesn't go in because they're not ready for this yet. And so it will only work in ways, and it will work in ways with you that is, again, very specific to the requirements of your higher self. If your higher self wishes you to go fast through something, it will assist in that. If it wishes you to go slow, it will assist in that as well. So it does regulate itself in that way.
Another question.
Okay.
Will you perhaps make a quantum generator wearable jewelry so in the flow always?
That's a cool question. I'm not sure how I would put that around your neck. There is some future things coming. I can't say too much about that now, but when I am allowed to release that, I'll certainly let you know. But for the moment, now, we've had many questions about people asking about personal devices and wearing them personally. And every time we've checked in, it was a no. And they said the reason is because, number one, the team were slightly concerned that people would use this on them and think they have no more work to do. There's no more development because this does it all for you. They were very cautious. They didn't want people to stop doing the work and stop the conscious development, thinking, oh, I've got a device now. I don't need to do anything. It does it all for me. So there was that conscious aspect as well. The other aspect of this is because of the power of these, they've said that it's not appropriate for most people to have these and wear them on them because the power of these is so strong. It's not at this time appropriate for people to have them, full time wearing them day and night out and about, on them. But I can hear them saying that time is getting close. So perhaps eventually down the line, that will be a possibility.
Would you like just to say a little bit about the other devices, and then we can move on to the quantum generator, because that's what people are interested in.
Exciting day. Okay, so the next one we have is the water device. So this one just literally clamps onto your mains incoming pipe. Now, interestingly, we've had a couple of people from the Stargate family who had apartments where they couldn't find the main incoming water pipe. So I checked in with my team and they said, we can change it dynamically now so that it flows both ways. So it doesn't just go with the flow of water anymore in one direction. It will go back and it will feed itself back into all of the different outlets that you have. So even if you've got an apartment where you think, oh, damn, I have no access to the incoming water pipe, that it doesn't matter. It's fine. You just need to put it on underneath the water faucet or the water tap with a pipe coming in there, and it will go both ways. It's fine.
The water, like the rivers and the water table.
Oh, sorry, what was that? Sorry?
Is it going to flow all the way to the rivers that it came from?
Yes, they're saying yes. I can say that, yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So actually, I should also add one of the things, so specific to the water one, is designed to, because not just the coding in the physical matter of the water, it's the memory of the water as well. Mm-hmm. Now, it's designed to repurpose the coding and blank the memory of the water and repurpose the memory as if it had just come from natural spring water. Mm-hmm. Okay, so it does that as well.
And what kind of memories that the water carry? Just so people can get an understanding.
Yes. Yeah, so it is designed to remove any memory that actively will do any harm to you. Okay, so if it has any memory of any chemical, any kind of, somebody has drunk water, peed it out, it goes into the system and they're carrying a lot of stuff, and normally if you sort of, I don't know, to be a bit sort of specific, but if you go and pee out in nature has its own cleaning mechanisms to clear the energetics of that water so it's fresh and good when it recycles through. But if going through the system and it gets, just filtered out and then resent to you, it comes back with a ton of memory still, and it's still there. So that's what it does. Any memory or active memory that is in any way harmful to you, it goes.
What about fluoride? I know a lot of places put fluoride in the water.
Well, what I can tell you is that the way the field deals with water substances is, when we first got to the States, we were in Tucson, and the chlorine and the chemical treatment there was just, it stank. It was really strong. We ran a bath and it was just, we had to turn it off because the whole room stank of, bleach. And we just moved. It was like the day after we moved and we got there. So we're still unpacking. And they said, just take the original, because I had the original prototype. They said, take it, put it next to the tap, run the bath again. We ran the bath again, smell had gone. And so what they're saying is it wraps a sort of a membrane around, an energetic membrane around substances so that they're no longer interacting with you. And we tried it with gluten as well, like pizzas with the food system. And we asked it specifically to do that same process to gluten. Stuffed a pizza, had none of the usual reactions of bloating and all that kind of stuff you get with gluten. It just didn't happen.
Far out.
So, so that's the water system. Is there anything else?
Got a question here.
Oh, let's see. What is something that works with the quantum field need electricity?
And we have a few other questions about that too. And this is for the home device. Like Leslie's asking if it's okay to just have it by her outlet, or if the salt lamp needs to be plugged in. And another person asking, what if it's by a Wi-Fi router?
Oh, last bit, I didn't hear that. What was the last bit?
Click on it. Yeah.
What if you put it by your Wi-Fi router?
Oh, yes. No, don't put it near a router. Because of what's in it, and I can't go into details of what's in it, there was a slight concern of longevity, and because the idea is to have these as long as you need them. They don't flake out over a year or a few years and you need to get another one. But if you put it near a very strong, powerful electromagnetic emitter like a Wi-Fi router, there is a slight concern that over time that's going to start to affect the physical properties of the material inside, and then that might degrade the function of how it works. So we tend to recommend to keep it at least, I would say sort of 3 meters, preferably 5 away from routers or anything that emits Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, that kind of thing, just for longevity. I mean, I've accidentally left my phone off flight mode while charging near the charge system, and it doesn't affect it. But over long term, if you want to use this for a long period of time, you really should just keep it away from those things.
Cool.
Now, coming back to the question of electricity, you have to remember you are a physical being still as well. You have resonance in the physical levels. And so in order to operate and get to those, because you see, it's the hologram of electrical system in your house all around you. The system, the quantum field, has to access that specific hologram through the system through which it is flowing, which is the electrical power system. Okay, so later on, as things develop, it might be possible as the Earth's energetics raise up and the physics of how those energy systems work might change, and it might not be necessary. But for now, the team and the Elohim are very specific. It must be used in this way. Okay, so I don't know if that answered your question.
Just to clarify, it's not that you're like plugging the home system into
not plugging it in. No.
It's just you're placing it near the salt lamp or something that's constantly on, so that it's altering the nature of the electronic system in your home.
And the other point as well that they've just dropped in there, they want me to add, is you see, you are an electrical system. Your nervous system is a bioelectrical chemical system in the physical side of things, as well as being, the spiritual energetic bodies that you have. And so if the field were allowed to just move out and work on every single electrical thing within inside it, it would be operating on you as well. And there's a level of inappropriateness to that, because it would be doing things to you that may not necessarily be in your higher self's wishes. But if it acts in this way, specifically separate to the electrical systems, and can develop its field around that and through that in the ways that your higher self requires, it bypasses that. Does that make sense?
Sure. So Beverly Allen is saying a cool comment. She says her visions are clearer now as she has the icy water. When she's bathing, she started to have visionary flashes while her eyes are open.
Thank you, Beverly. That's another good question. Yeah, we've actually put a testimonial on somebody who says that as well. On the website, they've noticed that as well. There's something, our team has said many times, and I've heard this from different channelers as well, that water, particularly very good energetically, high vibrational water, it really assists with access to the spiritual realms because of the nature of the water energetic and the fields in water. So it's fantastic that you shared that. Thank you so much. And I think that's spot on. We find that other people have found that as well. And the comment that we did have was somebody who uses the water system when he showers. He said that the water has come alive. It's living again. It's not just dead substance anymore. So there's so many levels that we ourselves are still learning about this as well, because it's so large. But yeah, so that's the water system. I just want to move on to the other ones.
Move on to the car one, perhaps.
Yeah, really keen to get onto the generators. Okay, so this is the motion. This goes in your car, or could be a truck or whatever it is. So it does the same thing as Serenity. It's the home system around your entire vehicle, but specifically adapted for the materials and the type of things that are used in your car. And it doesn't matter if it's electric, hybrid, or petrol or diesel. It works in the same way. This one is the food system.
There's a question there, but Sharon is asking, if you live in an RV, which device should you use, the home one or the move one, the automobile one?
Yeah, good question. So the Serenity, this one is designed to work with alternating current, AC current. The Motion, this one is designed to work with DC current. So the electrical systems in your car are DC, direct current, whereas in your home it's oscillating current. It goes back and forward. So the two systems have to be designed differently. So if you're in an RV, and it's probably going to be you probably have an inverter in there, so it's going to be AC. You'll need the home system for that one. Okay. So the food system, that's that one, the one I was talking about, which when I asked it to do all plates, it could do all those as well. So this one is designed to do drinks and food. And you just need to usually place it, if you don't want to request that it does everything on the table, you can just place it next to a drink or a plate, and within a few minutes, we say a few minutes, but in truth, I find within seconds it's done. It's very quick, but we just say 3 minutes just to make sure. So that's the food one. And lastly, we've got the charge. So this one is designed to work with DC currents as well. Now, the difference about this one with the other ones, all of the other ones do not store their field in anything they work through. Now, what this one does is, instead of attaching a device to your mobile, tablet, whatever battery operated equipment you have, this one, you put charging cables, and you can do five charging cables at once to different devices. And what it does, it builds its field and the whole holographic field structure in the battery of the device. So the battery now becomes the active protective field function of the device. So it doesn't matter if you drop it, or, because I know there's a lot of different devices out there that, for protecting devices, such as tablets and mobiles and things. But if you drop them, of course, you crack them and then they're done. And then you need one for each of your devices. But with the charge system, you don't. It's one size fits all. So you can do all your devices up to five at once. And then once they're done, they're good. The only caveat is you need to make sure your charge on your device is between 20 and 100%. Because if it drops below 20, the potential field of the battery starts diminishing to too much, where the field effect starts letting a little bit of pathogenic coding through. So my team had told me, just as long as it's 20% or above, you're good.
And so for the charge device, that also wants to be away from your Wi-Fi router and with your phone on airplane mode?
Yes, so we tend to recommend it. So just keep it on. Now, there are some people that say, well, I can't keep it on flight mode because they're in emergency services, or they have to have it on all the time. So what I recommend you do is get yourself like a 2 or 3 meter USB cable and just put the charge, near the origin of the charge system, and then run the cable, and then stick your phone in the other side so you can keep it off. You can keep it on off of flight mode so it can be on. So that's fine. That's no problem. Other than that, yes, it's got to be.
When you use the charge and you put your charging cable close to it,
mm-hmm.
the field that it puts in your battery, does that help neutralize the 5G or the 4G that's coming through your phone or tablet or computer?
Yes, it basically recodes all of the degenerative coding coming from that device in all levels. Not just the physical level, other levels above the physical as well. And if you watch the video on the front page of our website, it goes into a lot of specific detail showing you visually how that works and how that operates. But yes, so it doesn't matter what type of technology, if it's 5G, 4G, it doesn't matter. The coding is recoded.
So essentially, okay. Yeah, Ruby's asking, what is the device actually doing to my food and drinks?
Okay, good question. So what it's designed to do, so there are, let's start with this. There are 2 types of nutrition. There's physical nutrition, which are obviously the compounds, elements, vitamins, all those kind of things. And then there is energetic nutrition. So live, fresh food carries with it living information, as well as the physical nutrition that your body needs. And when it goes through sitting in a store for weeks, when it's bathed in electrical light, they probably have Wi-Fi all over the store, those are the usual situations. It's soaking up all those pathogenic codes. So the food is, even though it's fresh and it's whole food, and it's getting all that coding again. And when you eat it, you're taking those codes in. So what the food system is designed to do is, 1, repurpose all the degenerative coding that's already inherently in the food, regardless of where that degenerative coding has come from. Number 2, to re-imbue the food with the very specific life-giving codes that it should have. There's other things to do with how things are grown these days, how fast they're grown, the whole manufacturing process of food, how it works. They often come missing the huge components of the energetic nutritional component. So that is fixed as well. That's put back in. And we have on a testimonials page, somebody did a test with the food system as well. She's probably listening today. I won't mention her name, but it's on the website anyway. But she took 2 oranges and she put one in the food system, one away. And then I can't remember the time, but it was about 3 minutes, I think she put it. And then she put them together in the cupboard and left them for 4 days to see what would happen. And the picture's on there. And the one that didn't get repurposed with the food system started going badly moldy. It started going rotting and going off. The other one, no signs of mold at all. And we've noticed here, and other people have noticed that lettuce and soft veggies like that, they last a lot longer. They used to go off within 3 or 4 days. Now it's like go for a week and it still looks pretty good. There is an aspect that still needs to be understood about how these coatings work with the longevity of food, the health and vitality of food, and so forth. But that's essentially what it is doing. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, if you're talking about lensing the quantum field in a way that's generative, it would make sense that there's the process of breaking down, which is a process of entropy, of chaos, would be almost held in a more crystalline, anti-chaos, anti-entropy state.
Yeah.
That's a good point. Can I just say, have you finished? Sorry, did you?
Yeah, that's it.
So the way I see it, and the way I've come to see it, the way my team has been expressing it to me, the living nature of the creative field, love, if you wish, quantum field, however you wish to call it, they're all interconnected is the way I see it. Its purpose, whenever it touches anything, is to create new possibilities, new life, expansion. There's no degeneration about it. The quantum field has no capability of degeneration, not at all. That's a dualistic aspect. And that in itself is a whole different talk by itself. But it's really to do with the fact that if you took that dualistic component out and everything was just purely generative, nothing would decay. It would just keep going and going and generating and forming into new possibilities, like a fractal. The fractal doesn't destroy itself. It just grows new parts of itself all over the place. It just keeps generating and growing and growing and expanding. And that's how I see how can I say that word? Are you okay with me saying that? So a lot of the things they've been teaching me about is the specific physics of how the quantum field operates. And there is a function to it and it works in a very fractal way. It's a fractalization quantum generative effect. That's a bit of a mouthful. But in a sense, if you've ever seen fractals, if you've never seen fractals develop, go check out some fractals and how they develop. And you'll kind of see, oh, that's kind of like a tree growing or a flower developing. It's very similar. But the quantum fractal physics is very different, because obviously the fractals you'll be looking at are physical 3D mathematical fractals. But these quantum fractals are very special.
Cool.
So very interesting.
One more question before we get on to the quantum generators.
Okay.
So Tina is saying, I'm still skeptic. Do we humans with all possibilities need to buy any device? They say we have infinite possibilities.
Yes, that's a good question. And I'll come back to what Prageet was saying. Yes, you do have all possibilities, but can you access all possibilities right now? See, so these solutions, and I would say like the Stargate as well, are very powerful assists. Okay, so they're not taking the work away from you. Okay, they will assist you and they will help you. Now, the important thing is, so my philosophy is with these, nothing should take the place of your living beingness and your development as a sovereign creative being. Okay, if it does, I would stay away from it, because it's taking power away from you. Your power and your sovereignty is for you. So like the Stargate, like the IC devices, their intention, their philosophy, their consciousness is to help you become more of you. And if you're not able to access those areas you want to right now, they will assist you with your request to do so. And particularly if your higher self wishes you to be on that path and you've come here with a higher self contract to develop in a specific way, your higher self automatically has permission to do those things on your behalf without violating your free will. So I hope that kind of answers the question. I don't know if you guys have anything.
Yeah, I'd like to add something to that, because
it's the same thing with, like, we could get from here to Florida by walking, or we could take a plane.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Analogy sometimes when people ask if we need the Stargate, he's like, it's a technology that can assist you in moving faster.
So you don't have to buy any of these devices, not at all.
Yeah.
But if you wish to accelerate your awakening process, then they're really helpful. And you always just have to tune in to your own inner guidance, whether or not something's suitable for you or not.
Is it resonating with you? Are you getting sparked to want to explore or not?
Yeah.
I think for me, like, feeling the home device once because when we've had it for months now, and Prageet and I didn't know we had to put it near an outlet for, like, something that was constantly on, like a salt lamp, and so recently, like a week ago, is when Prageet actually got the salt lamp, plugged it in, did it properly, and it's like, wow, like I absolutely can feel what it's doing.
So nice comment to lead into the generators from Michael Joseph. He's saying, one day when I was walking, I came to a stop. A beam of light swept through my body, felt like a cleanse with a boost of energy. I found out it was the day the activation of the quantum field generator.
Cool. That's a nice one. Oh, congratulations, Michael, for having that experience. Yes, there's a lot of information which is yet to come about the generators, and the generators have really been born out of the collaboration I've been having with Prageet Jules and the Stargate. And I'll just give you a quick recap for those people who don't know how this came about. So I actually saw Prageet back in 2013 or 14 when you were at a Cryon conference, and I wanted to stop and see him, but I was sort of limited for time, and I didn't get to see him. But I remember seeing across the there's something about that guy. I really should meet this guy, but I didn't get to then. And later on, when I was putting some channel information up on a website, my team said I was really tired. I really wanted to go to sleep, and said, no, keep going. We want you to see something. And scrolled me down, and it came to an Alcazar quote. And I read it. I thought, holy cow, that's exactly word for word what we've been getting. I have to get in touch with this guy. So I really feel that myself and Prageet Jules, we have this very special collaboration that's going on, and the generators are absolutely specific to the Stargate project. And there was a big shift when when the first Costa Rica workshop was on, and that the generators were activated in a particular way. And there's more levels they're going to be jumping to. This is not the end. There's a lot more coming downstream for these. And like I said, okay, my team is sort of trying to say words through me right now. So, okay. So they're saying, okay, so they'd like to do a bit of channel information if you guys are okay.
Great.
Let's do that.
So my team, please go ahead. Greetings. We are the Ilham, and we are so very grateful for this opportunity to come in and chime in this talk of David's, Prageet and Jules. We would like to add to you that yes, indeed, Michael, you did have a very special experience because of your connection with the Stargate team and the family and the Stargate geometry itself. You see, the two are connected. The generators, as they stand, and the Stargate are not separate. The two are intertwined. And there's a very special relationship that is developing with each of you, the people that are doing the Stargate courses. These generators have not yet reached their full potential, not by any means. And the continuing workshops, the continuing information, the continuing energetic activations will get higher, wider, broader, deeper, and in some ways more specific. And you will feel these, dear ones. Many of you already have, such as Michael here. And with that, We will leave the floor unless somebody has a specific question for us.
Just gonna.
Well, I actually am wondering if you can say anything about the establishment of the quantum generator grid that will be happening in Maui.
Not just yet, dear ones.
Let's go back to the chat.
Cool.
Jules.
Okay.
That much information will be divulged to you upon the completion of the first workshop. We are aware that there is a second workshop taking place, and you too will receive the same special activations. There will be no difference. Except something special will occur on the completion of the first workshop. And then again, something special on the second workshop. But we cannot yet give you full information that we will be giving to you once those workshops have been complete. And you will understand why, dear ones. I know many of you, and we can feel many of you are so eager to know now. Patience, dear ones, patience. The information is coming, and you will be delighted to know what you have been a part of and what you are creating. And with that, we will leave that there.
Another teaser. Huh?
I know.
It's like we started to advertise the Maui workshop, the 2 Maui workshops yesterday, and within a day they were both full.
Yeah.
So people are very excited.
Yes, that's
being there.
I can tell you. Sorry, so you finished? So I did interrupt you there.
No, I mean it's like wonderful that there's such an excitement because people have already been feeling the energetic. When we use it in the meditation, people can feel that sudden uplift of energy when we activate the generators.
I can tell you actually for myself, when I was doing it distantly in Costa Rica and Slovenia again. So my wife they went out, so there was no noise in the background, so we could do this clearly. But they came back early when it was still going on, and my wife came in and said, "Holy cow, the energy in here is so high." And I said, "Yeah, they gave me the same copy of the energy here that they were doing in the Stargate workshop to make it fully connective and immersive." And it was very high. And we had a friend who was staying at the time, and it was actually too high for him to be in it. He started feeling, well, let's just say lots of weird things going on, but it was a little too high for him. So they are very, very high energetics. The cooperation between you, the people that do these, the generators, the Stargate, Prageet Jules and myself, the whole thing together is incredibly beautiful. It's so high.
So a question there for you. How I see the generators you've been talking about and the quantum generator connected to each other?
Good question. Actually, they are very connected. The Elohim came in one day because we were wondering about how they fit together. You know, we were asking them very specific questions, and they said the two are intimately connected. They are developed in a very similar way. They both access the quantum field, and they said, to be very clear, they were saying the IC Infinity devices are there to still the environment, clear the clutter, clear the agitation to make conscious development more accessible. The quantum generators are there to accelerate your conscious development in a very specific way, in a very advanced way. So the two actually go together. And because I before they came through that information, I was considering them to be kind of not separate, but very different innovations for, in their own respect, but it turns out they're not. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, great.
Cool.
Oh, actually, they are saying here, they're saying it's very important. They're saying, okay, do you want to go ahead and say this? Okay. Greetings again, dear ones. On this topic of conversation, we would like to add very specific information. You see, the agitations that are around you, These are not coincidental. Many of you know where these come from. And we would add that the filters that these have been talking about before, that some way impede your access to the quantum field, to the higher dimensions, the agitations play their role in that filtration, in the blocking. So you see, dear ones, it does you good to have the benefit of having the agitations clear, calm, still, repurposed as this one says. So we ask you to tune in with your own higher selves. Is this something that you need? And with all things, decide from your sacred heart, your heart centers. Do you feel that you need this? Because it is available, but it must be a choice that is done from your sacred heart. But we wish to give you information to help assist in that understanding. You see, there are many things going on, much of which we cannot divulge here today. In many different levels, there are different agitations, different sets, different groups of agitations, some of which you are not aware of. And so, does anybody have any questions on that note? Okay, we will release channel. Goodbye for now, dear ones. Okay. Okay. So I hope that answers the question. Okay. I can't hear you, Jules and Prageet.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
we were muted. That's why.
Oh, sorry. Okay, yeah. Just to make sure. Yeah, there's a lot that they've been telling us a lot of stuff. I really wish I could tell you more. To be honest with you, there's so much I'd like to tell you. But there are many different levels to this, and the kind of agitations that are present.
Yeah, I had a question. I wasn't sure whether you'd mentioned it or not, but as the quantum generators get stronger, are they going to affect the IC tools that you've created?
They've immediately said they go hand in hand. The development is one and the same, they're saying. Yes. And they're saying there will be more innovations coming. These are not, they're saying very clearly, this is just the beginning. They're saying we're not going to say any more than that right now. Okay. So
It's very exciting.
It is. And I have to say, and for myself, I feel incredibly privileged. And honored to be doing this and to be doing this with you guys. I love you guys to bits, and to be working with you the way I have is very special. And to all of those who've been doing these meditations, thank you for doing this. And when you hear what they have to say about what you've been part of, you're going to be stoked. You're going to be really jumping with joy. Again, but they want to wait for that until.
I definitely feel that, David, and I'm so excited because some of the conversations we've had about consciousness and where we're going and the spheres that are going to be opening for us of dimensional exploration very soon. It's like I can. It's like every time you get a glimpse of yourself beyond the duality separation illusion, it is like a fractal, right? And we were talking about that when we were in Florida, and that conversation just got me so excited because there's so much knowingness waiting for us, like that part of us that like is the one that can do all these things without needing a device, like that's coming. Like that is for sure like what we're bringing down to earth. And so I'm just really stoked on the collaborative potential, and it's amazing. So
here's a good question for you, David, from Catherine. Is it okay to use these devices if my husband is not on the same level of development?
Good question as well. Yes, and just before I answer that question, I just wanted to follow on from what Jules was saying, and yes, and they were saying, as you were saying, that it's coming faster than you know, and I think it will make a lot more sense after the Maui workshop as to understanding as to what's going on and what's coming next. There's a whole lot of things that are going to be clearer, but that's obviously for a little bit later. So so very similar. We've had a lot of questions like this, Catherine, from different people. And the way the field works, it's dynamic and living. So it works with each individual specific to their needs. So if they're not meant to be working with this in such an accelerated way, it will not do that with them. It will only work in the way that their individual higher self is ready for them to do. So if they don't want to evolve, or, in extreme examples, because we've had people with, in relationships where one is completely against, doesn't want to know anything about what they're doing, and the other person is very into, their Stargate crew, and they're very much into evolution and development, complete opposites. So it will work specifically with the person who wants to develop as they wish to develop from their high self. But with the other person, it will either do nothing for them developmentally, or it will work with them very slowly as their high self wishes. But it's very much tailored to work with people individually. So you shouldn't have any problems there.
Brilliant. Love it. So someone's asking how they can get quantum generators. Those are going to be available after the Maui workshops.
Yeah, and basically they're going to be available, but the guides are the ones that are going to decide who actually receives them, because they want them to be in certain locations around the world. They also want them to be with specific people around the world. And so when they are available, we'll have a little questionnaire for you to fill in as an application to receive one.
Yeah, and someone else was asking if they need a Stargate with it, and yes, we're going to make it so that they they come together.
Yeah.
Because the generators actually sit inside of the Stargate. You can see that behind David there.
Yeah.
You can't, so that way I was. They are specifically designed for the Stargate. This is a Stargate energetic collaboration, and the generators are very much, involved with that. So basically, the way as Prageet and Jules have just said, so the Elim were very specific about its location. But it's also to do with where you are developmentally, because sometimes they were aware, because of the power of these generators, they were aware that some people might want to go too quickly that they may not be ready for. So what they were saying is, even if they say not just yet, that doesn't mean no completely. It just means you might need to wait, and they might give you a provisor of what you need to work on or what you need to develop with before you get them. So I expect what they're going to say is, yes, you can, but you need to work on this, this, and this. And once you're done, you'll be good to go. But they did say that's going to be relatively few people. So most people within the Stargate group are good to go as far as personal energetics are concerned. But like I said, this is all handled by them. So when they give the guidance, that's what it's to be. And they were very specific. It must be after Maui.
Great.
So, yeah.
And we've been working to get more of the large gold Stargates made, and David's going to be working to get the generators made. So we have them. It's a slow process. There's a lot of work that goes into creating these two different devices. Somebody asked if they have a large gold Stargate already. Can they just buy the generators? And I think there's a yes to that if they are okayed by the guides.
Yes. Yeah, definitely. And yeah, there's man, I wish I could tell you more information. There's so much I'd like to tell you, but yes, it's so much. I think, that kind of information is just when the guides are ready, particularly in the Maui. Whether you're going to be there presently or not. I mean, we were hoping to, but the way things worked out here, we couldn't. We were a bit disappointed we couldn't make it because we wanted to be there. But so we will be live streaming there, of course. But I feel that there's going to be a lot of particular information that's going to be released there. So, So if you're looking for information, hang on.
Yeah, well, we've got somebody here. Joy is saying please kindly do the 2 workshops of Maui on a live stream.
Okay.
Okay. We were planning to just live stream the first one, but
There's so many
drum
people.
roll, please.
Yeah. We keep asking that we're planning to live stream both of them. And David will be there in each of the 2 retreats. He'll be there on Zoom.
He was going to be there in person, but due to some logistical factors, he's going to be there on Zoom.
Yeah.
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 So we're very excited.
I'm really looking forward to it. I'm really excited about this. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful.
Sure. Sweet. So a lot of people feeling high frequency, joy, excitement. And I just want to mention your website so that people have it is ic-infinergy.com.
I don't know if it makes any a difference. It's HTTPS. It probably doesn't make any difference.
I copied it straight from the browser, so.
Yeah, no worries.
Okay. Let's see if we can get it that way. Okay. I'll pop that in then.
So does anybody else have any questions about the generators or the IC Infinity stuff or anything related that you... yeah, thanks, Jules. That's the one.
Yeah. Someone is asking, is it feasible to combine on purpose the infinity with motion and food and water? I think he's asking if you can use all of them together.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. They all work completely in synergy together. And the reason why there's 5, originally we were kind of trying to get the units down to minimize them because for us, the philosophy, this is not a money-making exercise, not at all. This is a very heart-centered movement. And we were trying to think of ways to make it more practical, more easier, less stuff, to use for people. But the guides were very specific. It had to be these 5. We couldn't combine, say, the home system and the water system because of the way the energetics are lensed.
Yeah.
So this is unfortunately the bare minimum that we could do. And yeah, so that's I think have I answered the question?
Yeah, I mean, Catherine is asking, is there going to be a generator for the small Stargate? And then somebody else is asking, will it fit in the 6-inch Stargate? And both the answer for that is no.
Yeah, it's to do with literally just basic mechanics. This is about the smallest that we can make them due to the bits and pieces that they're made with. So unfortunately, I don't think that's ever. No, they're saying no. And the team is saying that's not going to be a possibility. Yeah. Unfortunately, sorry guys.
And as always, if you get the okay to get one of these generators, we'll make it possible to pay over time so that it's for those of us that have limited resources and really want to have one, we'll find a way of making it possible for more people as soon as they actually become available and we can make enough.
Yeah.
That's the other thing. It's a slow process.
Yes.
Wait,
yes.
so go ahead.
Oh no, I was just going to say it is an evolved process. So yeah, it's but I do hope to have I have every intention that by the time Maui arrives, we'll have enough. My plan is to make between 30 and 50 to begin with. That's what the guides have said. That's a good number. And then, but it does. If more people want them than that, we can certainly make them on a waiting list. That's not a problem. It's not going to be like a month waiting list. We can certainly get one to you within a week or 2. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That's if we got Stargates made.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah.
You've got 40 Stargates being made.
Yes, yeah.
Which should be ready by the end of January. Anyway.
Cool.
That's all for the future.
Yeah. Someone, Maria's just asking if the type of piping used in her home will influence the water.
It doesn't matter. It could be copper, plastic. I forget whatever they might use, nylon or something. In some of them, it doesn't matter. The field of this goes beyond the physical materials. It doesn't get impeded or affected by the physical material. So some people have even asked, for example, like canned food, can they just stick it in canned food? It works exactly the same. Doesn't matter whether it's a metal container on the outside, because it's not, because the quantum field pervades all of those things. It's not working in a physical realm where it has to operate with physical physics and limitations. So yeah, it doesn't matter what piping you have.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah, somebody's asking again. It only fits in the 15-inch Stargate, and it's made to combine with the Stargate. You can't just have the generator.
Yes. Yeah, you must have both. You must have both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yay. Okay.
So I think that's it for now.
Yeah.
So on that, I'd just like to add something, because my guides just wanted me to mention as well, because they're very keen, not just to get the generators where they need to be, but to also get the IC where it needs to go.
Mm.
So we're offering different partnerships, from very passive, easy ones you can jump straight into full distributorships. So if anybody in any country is interested in doing this, please do get in touch. If you feel heart drawn or that you feel the impulse or guided to do this, we'd love to hear from you, because there's a lot of people that have no idea about this stuff. And, we just, the team especially, they've been even pushing me, and because I don't like selling, and I'm not a salesman, I don't do that stuff, but so I was kind of hesitating a little bit, and they say, no, you have to get this, you have to get it out there, you have to get the consciousness raised. So in that way, if you do feel heart drawn, you can take a look at our website. We've got the 3 partnerships on there. They can fit in any lifestyle. If you're currently working with a full-time job, or are seeking some way of supplementing your income, for example, there's many different versions that you can have. But they're very, very keen to get these in as many countries as possible. So again, if you feel the draw, please do get in touch.
Great.
Okay.
Well, it was such a pleasure to connect with you and share your technology with our community.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And people are really benefiting from it already.
Yeah.
And it's fantastic. And we know that there's more coming down the pipe. Very. In fact, I'm going to visit David in Tampa after the Thanksgiving workshop for the next level of.
It's going to be cool. You're going to be pretty excited, I think so. And I forgot to mention, they've just reminded me again. They're like kicking me on the side of the head. Yeah, you forgot that one. If anybody who currently has them, who would like to share anything that they would love to share about the spiritual aspect, or what they've felt change-wise in them, please do consider doing a testimonial, because they're so helpful to other people, to help them understand the kind of things they might expect, or from a completely neutral third-person perspective. So if you'd like to, you can go onto our contact page, click on the testimonial bit, and just pen it in and send it. And you can let us know if you just don't want your name mentioned, or if you want your name mentioned, etc. You can be as anonymous or as unanonymous as you want to be. That's fine. So,
Yeah.
thank you. Thanks, Leslie.
Okay, so thank you, David, once more.
And can I just also take the time as well to thank you guys as well. The level of love and kindness that's been experienced with you guys, the inspiration, the new stuff that's coming through since working with you guys has been incredible. And so I just want to thank you both. And again, the whole Stargate crew for your involvement in this. Thank you to one and all, because it's so special what you're doing, and this relationship of collaboration is just beautiful. So thank you guys, and thank you everyone.
Yeah, it's really wonderful, and we're really happy to share this with the Stargate family around the world.
And somebody would like to say a special hi, if you wouldn't mind.
Oh, I wonder who that is.
Yeah, come on in.
Hey. Hi,
Maya.
Lovely to see you again.
Prageet is coming to my birthday, Jules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Oh.
Okay, guys.
Yeah, and you're not coming to her birthday party.
Oh, I know. You're going to miss out on some really cool tree hopping experience, all that kind of stuff. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right then. Thank you, David. Much love, everyone, for joining us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Really enjoyed the presentation and the information.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
Much
Bye,
love.
everyone. Bye, Maya. Bye, Sim.
Bye.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.